Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, I just decided to go ahead on and cut the music short because I'm so ready to get into tonight's show. Tonight is February the 26th, 2014. This is the day after the transition day of brother freedom fighter Chokwe Lumumba. Dr. Short, are you there? I want to welcome you in. Oh, maybe I should open up your mic. Dr. Short?
Yes, how are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm okay. I'm just a lot going on. But
it's a lot going on.
Thinking
Before
about what
we
has
get started,
happened.
I just want to say peace be upon Brother Chokwe Lumumba. Before we get started, I poured on my libations for him today. Last night was a rough night for me because, I don't have television. So I have to find my news on my phone and on my computer. And so thankfully, Mother Dunning called me. She's down there in Mississippi, and she told me the news, and I was floored. I called you. I called Brother Brown. Brother Brown, you're there too, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
And I just, yes, I can hear you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome in.
No problem.
Yes. So, needless to say, I was just completely just torn apart. But Dr. Shaw, let's hear your thoughts. I know you were about to say something, so I do apologize for interrupting you, but I just wanted to get that out quickly.
I didn't know who you were speaking with. Are you speaking to me or Brother Brown?
You, Dr. Short.
Oh, I wanted Brother Brown to go for the simple fact that he actually was in this institution called the Black Panthers. That's just ahead of people my age by about 10, 12 years. So I thought it would make sense for a Panther to toast a Panther before I did anything, because my exposure would be by reputation. I have many associates and friends who knew him, but I only met him maybe once. We traded emails, we communicated, but I met him literally in 2012. I met him in 2012. although I had known about him before, and he was close to my mother's goddaughter in Jackson, Mississippi. But I am someone that met him through activistic circles, and there are people that I'm affiliated with who I also know would know Chokwe, my instructors from Howard and other places. So I wanted Brother to speak because he have a lot more profound things due to direct exposure to one of his peers, either generationally or personally or both ways. He knows him.
Absolutely. Good idea, Brother Brown.
Yes. You know, when you look at his life history, and of course he was 6 years older than I was, and my first affiliation with the Black Panthers came in 1969 when I was a high school student. So, you know, his came a little bit earlier, and he was a little bit older than me. But I had just written him. You know, I went to Mississippi to assist Mother Dunn in her endeavors to, you know, get her children back, her grandchildren. I'm sorry. So when I had did, and you know, I knew about his affiliation with N'Cobra through reparations, and what I was planning on doing while I was in Mississippi, we were going to take a ride to Jackson and see if he could lead us to an attorney in reference to assisting Mother Dunn after we went on and did what we had to do in reference to getting the charges filed in the federal court. And I had sent him a brief synopsis of what was going on with her case, how the state of Mississippi had actually, you know, railroaded her in certain degrees. And just 2 days before I left to catch the plane to go to Mississippi, to go to Biloxi, Gulfport, I got the letter back. And the letter said, sons are not, you know, there's no one at this address, but it went directly to his office, so I was kind of puzzled. You know, I said to myself, now he just was elected the mayor of Jackson, and why he's not responding to the mail? And I know that this didn't sound like something that he would do. Okay, so.
Well, talk about why this doesn't sound like something that he would do, because he was definitely a person that was for the people. He was known as an attorney for the people, and helped establish the People's Council. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's why I had sought to confer with him. So when this happened, it kind of puzzled me. And I said to myself, now something had to be going on. Now, mind you, we must also take into consideration that this brother had made a lot of crossroads over the years on both sides of the fence. And him being adamant about expressing his feelings in reference to the human rights of African people was in the same manner that Malcolm expressed his concern. And, you know, after retaining a law degree, he knew that he had the upper hand on helping us, you know, get things done. And that's why I found it.
Let me just jump in right there when you spoke about Malcolm, because he actually was inspired by Malcolm after Dr. King was killed, and he was inspired by Malcolm definitely, and he also was one of the founding members of the Malcolm X grassroots movement. What I admire so much about him is he was a fighter for reparations. He was a fighter for the people. And, you know, it's hard to get, especially a politician, to come out and say that they are in support of reparations. But he was also pretty much drafted by the Democratic Party of Mississippi to run for mayor. So, I mean, he was definitely pulled from the people, and he was about involving and engaging the masses. And the slogan was educate, motivate, and organize. And
right.
so, I
and
mean, I just admire those things about him for sure.
Right, and that's one of the things that the whole, and see, that was a synopsis of what the original Black Panther Party was about. The same thing, the same three elements you just mentioned, excuse me, they were the background for the 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party. And the organizing and the education, and there was one word that you used. You said organizing, educating, and what else?
Educate, motivate, and organize. And
right.
when he was running for mayor, he had a slogan of one city, one aim, one destiny, just like one people, one aim, one destiny, Marcus Garvey. Oh, my gosh.
Right.
I just love it.
Yeah, and see that one goal, that one aim was to make sure that all of his efforts were from a Pan-Africanist perspective. And that's what Garvey did, that's what Dr. Clark did, that's what Joseph Yakinen did. See, this was like a normal stick for us to understand what our goals and our purpose was. And, you know, he came up in the ranks with Assata Shakur and all the rest of the people that were during that era of Maria Baraka, who just passed on also. And, you know, it was just like, it was just the atmosphere for us at that period of time. We were tired of listening to rhetoric. We were tired of, you know, we knew what Dr. King's agenda was. We had no problem with that. But we also knew that we were not going to continue to sit back and allow people to beat us upside our head. And
tell us about his connection with the Assata Shakur, Brother Brown, because you just kind of skated over that, and that's something we don't just want to skate and pass by. Because he was the attorney for Assata Shakur. Let's talk about that.
Well, one of the things that happened with Assata Shakur was that there was at the time there was a Brinks armored truck robbery, and
right.
I think it was in New York, and they tracked. That's when they labeled her as you know, on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. That happened in the early 70s when her name was Joanne Chesimard, and brother Lumumba, his name was Talifaro then, and what he did. He had affiliation with the New Africa movement. And see, part of this New Africa movement that he was, or the Republic of New Africa as they called it, part of that movement started in the late 60s with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad buying land in the South. And one of the goals was to buy this land in the South. And because the largest concentration of African American people were in the South, and to set up our own government in the South, and I think, and by him being in the Republic of New Africa, that's how they ran into each other. And you know, unfortunately, she went on and joined the Black Liberation Army. And she continued to struggle one way, he continued it the other way, and then he ended up getting a law degree. And, you know, along these lines...
Summa cum laude.
Right, he graduated summa cum laude, and then he began practicing law. He represented Tupac. He represented a lot of different people from an activist standpoint. And it was hard to get a lawyer to represent activists.
Right.
Now, it's still hard to get a loyal attorney to go into the courtroom and represent activists. And I think he was one of the last icons that did that. I mean, I don't know of any other people right now who we can really call on to say to self, okay, can we get your representation? Because, like I said, it just doesn't happen. And you know, the brother will surely be missed. I'm telling you, because when I went to Mississippi, one of my goals was to go to Jackson. And, of course, I never got to Jackson, and I never got to see the brother. But, you know, like I said, that's when I realized something had to be wrong, and because I know it was not like not to respond. And then when I got the call from Mother Dunning yesterday, I was shocked. Man, what really shocked me about the whole situation was as I looked on the internet today, I found 2 or 3 different causes of death. That brought something to my mind that rung a bell, kept me got me on. You know how your antennas go up. You know, because what the first thing when I found that out, it brought back to me the death of a friend of mine, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. That's the first thing that brought to my mind, because there's still some controversy right now over Khalid Muhammad's death, how he died and everything like that. So now when I'm looking at this,
we know that there's something suspicious always. Always. In many instances, when people like this mysteriously die. I mean, I was talking to someone earlier today, and I mentioned if we even look back at David Walker, who wrote David Walker's Appeal.
Right.
I mean, he was found mysteriously dead in his doorway. Right. Harold Washington, Mayor of Chicago, Yasser Arafat. I mean, so it's just numerous people that have mysteriously died or have this cancer that comes about, this mysterious illness, sudden illness that comes about. But look, before we go into talking about his death, let's celebrate and talk about his life. Actually, he was born on August the 2nd, 1947. And I think when he went to, I think he was with his mother, and they were raising money for SNCC. And so he's always, been involved in the movement. So I guess you can almost say he was, born and developed in the movement, so that's why he was so passionate about defending people. I wanted to talk about, some of the people that he defended. I mean, he didn't just defend some heavy hitters like Assata Shakur and Tupac Shakur. I mean, back in the day in Detroit, he was defending indigent people who couldn't even afford a lawyer. So he truly was a lawyer for the people.
Right, because I think he worked for... He was a public defender when he first got his law license up in Detroit. And, the public defender's office, the public defender's office, for those of you who are not familiar with it, that's usually a watered-down office where, people say, I'm your public defender. You see him one time, and then the next time you see him, it's the day you go to court. Well, I think his legacy was that he did not. He had a rapport with his clients, and you don't find that in the public defender's office, And by him having a rapport and coming from the movement, it gave him more leeway into understanding, his upbringing and his elements in his struggle. It gave him a better understanding of what he knew, what we were up against, and he knew that when we went into these courtrooms, we did not have legal advice, or we didn't have the legal prowess to win these cases. So that was his trademark. That was one of the greatest accomplishments that we can talk about, this brother. And then when he, because at one time the state of Mississippi wouldn't allow him to practice law. They wouldn't. And that was, that's just who Mississippi is.
Well, he was targeted, him and his family, so. Yeah, that positive influence and understanding that he could always, that regardless of the obstacles that he faced, and being a freedom fighter, you're going to face obstacles. But he was able to overcome those obstacles and continue on the court, and stay steadfast in doing what he had to do to make sure that, people were treated fair and that he could right some of the injustices against our people. Absolutely. You know what, Brother Brown? Actually, I want to see if this person, we're waiting on someone else to call in. Let's see. Caller from 510. Your mic is open. I'm trying to open it.
Yes, this is Sister Ali. I have some very important information to share. I'm a targeted individual, and what happened was we thank God for Mayor Lumumba. Let me tell you what Mayor Lumumba did. He spent 3 hours listening to what targeted individuals had to say about the government using this directed energy on us and targeting us. And Mayor Lumumba didn't have to do that, but he gave us 3 hours to listen to what we had to say. And we were supposed to be having an event in Jackson, Mississippi, educating the people about targeted individuals, and they're using the cell phone towers to send out this radiation to create cancer and torture people's mind and act like people mentally ill. This technology traces back to CIA MK Ultra program, mind-altering technologies. So what Mayor Lumumba, we were supposed to do, we were supposed to go to Jackson, Mississippi between February of this year and the month of April. Do you know everything we strive to do got dismantled? And now we hear the mayor has expired, but his spirit and his energy lives on through his people, because we must continue to fight, because these Caucasians have many wicked devices that our people don't know nothing about. So they try everything, all that they can do to try to keep us from getting to Mayor Lumumba. And what inspired me as an African descendant, his great works. He fought with the Black Panther Party. He was affiliated with the Nation of Islam. He was affiliated with all the fighters that strive for us in the 60s, knowing that what we've been through as Black Power. And when he came in the inauguration, sworn in as a mayor, he threw up that Black Power sign, and it's on video. That made me feel very good. I was inspired. I love Mayor Lumumba, because I'm just that altered my mind to know that, okay, if all of us get in these offices dealing with this political arena game, we ain't all going to sell out against our people. Because, see, what we've been through as a people, we're supposed to get in these offices and make a difference for our people. And I truly, finally know that Mayor Lumumba, his goal, he done paved the way for us, and his goal was to keep educating his people, letting them know that, look, it's not hard as we think it is. And that's why I'm against our people being these entertainers and the singers. And I'm not saying those singers are not good, but Black people is the original people. We are the foundation of civilization. We are scientists. We are great people. Our minds is great. So it ain't about just that singing and dancing and we being known that that's all we are. We are some great leaders. So I'm saying, as a targeted individual, I want my people to step up and take their rightful place in this country and help us who has been put in positions from these Caucasians befriending the ones like Jesse Jackson and all these ones that knew that they went through that time, and they seemed to forgot. Mayor Lumumba did not forget who was his enemy. Although he sit amongst the enemy, he still had a strategy. So I'm saying again, let's strategize what we have to do and never forget about this black struggle, because it's still, from then, it's still happening today. It's just disguised under this diverse game. And I also appreciate Martin Luther King, because he talked about, it was all about liberating our people, but this so-called civil rights was used to make us think that it's all about this integration. Integration means nothing if you're still doing the same thing and not fed our people. And this is what disturbed me too, and this is my closing remarks. When I found out that monument of Martin Luther King was crafted and made by an Asian man and not a black man, that made me angry when I found that out, because that's another game they playing. They want to take credit for our great works. So Mayor Lumumba was not that type of man. He didn't get with these Caucasians, sit around him and forget about his people. He still represented what he stood for. And because of that, I have more power than I ever had when I come across my people that know what we've been through and never forget the struggle to keep fighting. So, again, I strongly believe that his body was remotely radiated with this radiation to create that cancer, because either you're a targeted individual or you're a targeted group or organization that they are using this technology on people to radiate their body and create these cancers or all these other illnesses. Because, see, the God we have, the Creator, didn't make no junk when He created the original people. And when He made the original people, He made us be able to live on the land and heal ourselves from the land. So what we're going through is a mythological game they're using with this medical community to falsify these illnesses when they cause other ways from this radiation. Because everybody knows that radiation will cause cancer. So thank you for allowing me to share, my sister, and more power for you. And I salute to you, sister, for even making this possible for our people to know that Mayor Lumumba is always going to be a great man. I don't mean was. He is always a great man, and he's added to the halls of fame for our people who keep and will continue to fight for the black struggle. Thank you for allowing me to share, sister. And, brother, I thank you for giving us the history, because we need to reschedule. We need to help ourselves by rewriting our own history. And we all come together and print our own history books, because we can't look for the Caucasians to write our history. We are our own history.
That's right. Thank you, sister. And I want to revisit what she mentioned about induced cancers and heart attacks. I mean, because films have been made about that, and those types of things do happen. The technology is available to make those types of events happen. But in terms of what she spoke about, artists and celebrities, I think it is okay for us to be artists and celebrities if that's what we want to be. If you want to be someone like, I would say, Stevie Wonder, he has always been in the movement. He's always been active and involved as far as I can remember. And even now, he's still not performing in Florida until they repeal Stand Your Ground, until that law is no longer on the books. And so actually Dick Gregory has been promoting that we all purchase one Stevie Wonder CD a month, at least one a month or whenever you can, in support of him, since he is not supporting Florida and by having a concert there. And also, we do need to keep Brother Chokwe Lumumba's plan alive. He did have a plan called, I believe it was called Jackson Kush Plan. It was an empowerment plan for the people. Jackson, Mississippi was 80% black. And so he had some revolutionary ideas in terms of bringing in economic development. For instance, worker-owned cooperatives. And I remember reading recently about a group of workers. They were all laid off because the bread factory was closing up. Well, the workers organized, they got themselves together, and they bought their company. That's a worker-owned bread company, and they are all making $65,000 to $72,000 a year, everybody. So they went from being possibly laid off, and making whatever the company decided to make to pay them, to own it, being part owners of the company. And that's something that Brother Lumumba was pushing. He was trying to institute and implement that, and he was inviting people all around the nation to come to Jackson, Mississippi, witness this, and also get engaged and involved and learn what's going on. And he had a plan to push this out to the world, human rights protection. And that's something I would really love for, if Dr. Short is still with us, to talk about human rights, because you are involved in some human rights groups. Dr. Short, do you mind?
Yes. I want to just respond to Sister Ali, because Sister Ali had done a major favor for our efforts, and I wasn't able to move in on it, and it all pertains to the fact that Chokwe Lumumba's staffers had opened their doors to help the sister who had the baby with the penis that was cut off back in August. And for some reason, each time I looked for that number, I lost it, and she had to give it to me like 2-3 times. And by the time I was able to hold on to the number, the sister called up and accused us of robbing her, which, isn't the case. And I never called Mayor Lumumba's office because I didn't want there to be a problem. I said, I would be embarrassed if Attorney Lumumba, Mayor Lumumba, had done something, and then someone came back on us, and particularly me, and said I had taken something, so I never did that. He had been on my mind for several days to reach back out to him because there are initiatives in Gary that I'll share with people at another time where we were talking about working with Mayor Lumumba because he's someone that we talk about. He was a shining star of hope that there's a city, a politician who's committed to the people that we could work with. I mean, I had talked to people about energy projects, all this because he was there. There was even supposed to be a human rights conference that we were supposed to have in Mississippi, in Jackson, last year, and it didn't happen. I think there was such an uproar about Lumumba becoming mayor until that didn't happen because they were going to talk about reparations. A lot of people don't know that. There was supposed to be a huge national conference of African Americans to talk about human rights, reparations, and end to the criminal and justice system in terms of mass incarceration. All this was part of what he wanted to do. And all those people were being gathered. And so when I see this sudden death, a lot of people don't understand that it wasn't just him being mayor, and it wasn't what he used to do. It's what they're afraid that he was going to do. See, a lot of people don't understand. Medgar Evers was murdered in 1963, and quite brutally so, because folks understood that black people with the ballot, if they were led the right way, would end up being the folks who decide who gets national offices. You can check every election from 1960 to now, depending on what black folks do. If there's a white turnout that's not super high, blacks and the black belt states and everything else determine who becomes president, vice president. They can flip the way this country runs. Medgar Evers was someone that they were afraid of because he became a kingmaker. Do you understand? Lumumba was a kingmaker. The next election would peg on what this brother could do. Can you imagine? And I can assure you, Obama's not going to want to go down and talk to no Lumumba. Eric Holder can't talk to no Lumumba. There's practically, they would have to come with something, okay? And he's not for sale. If you look at what's happening down in Mississippi and Louisiana, I was in a meeting working as a waiter where Airbus, it's called EADS North America, them and the Pentagon and others were talking about the fact that they needed to relocate huge numbers of people from the Mississippi Gulf Coast area, from the Alabama Gulf Coast, from the Louisiana Gulf Coast, because they want to make that a defense and industry section of the country. If you look at the oil that's ruined stuff, everything, you look at New Orleans, systematically within 2 weeks of that meeting, stuff started turning to hell to people down in that part of the country worse than ever before. Someone like Lumumba, who could galvanize and work with other people, sits in the way of things. Look at what's going on right now. What country are they trying to overturn? Venezuela, with its second black president, Maduro. You need to understand that New Orleans and Miami and all these cities are key places for American imperialism against blacks in Latin America. Lumumba, who's an internationalist, Lumumba, a Pan-Africanist, Lumumba, a black nationalist, he's going to have to know some of what happens because he sits in that seat. If you understand that the Republican Party, Haley Barbour and all these other people, him just being mayor, positioned black folks for the first time to have a governor and a senator of Mississippi in almost 150 years. And a lot of people don't know, don't trust the census. The state of Mississippi is now majority non-white. They'll keep telling you 30%. All these black folks moving from Chicago back to Mississippi, and they're still saying 38%. Let me tell you, this is 2014. And 2009, the state was supposed to become majority non-white. What's 5 years later? And you won't hear this discussion. Go to Mississippi. Every single solitary population center in the state, black folks are overrepresented. Every city. Go. Look. Go to Delta. They're definitely there, except for the redneck Riviera. And none of the rednecks are there now. They messed it up with the oil. Blacks are the majority in the state. And that's the lie. They won't tell you. Blacks are possibly the majority in Maryland. But we trust these same people who say that we're just a bunch of monkeys eating bananas that can't pass the SAT. So the same people who deny we have souls but come and ask for us to pray for them. The same folks that say we're lazy but they had us build the country, now they tell you, oh, you're just 38%, even though we say you're not. State of Georgia is over half black. Negroes don't count because they don't count themselves in. They don't think. I mean, you go to Georgia. That's another state. Go to Athens, Georgia. Who's there? Go to Savannah, Georgia. Waycross. Go to Valdosta, Columbus, Albany. Right? Go to Savannah. Go to Augusta. Go anywhere you want in the state. Go to Macon. Go anywhere you want. Waycross, Milledgeville. And black folks are what, half or more. And yet when you read the information on the number of blacks in the state of Georgia, they want to tell you, oh, they're about 27%. Really? Really? All the places that are populated in Georgia. Atlanta, I mean, come on. Atlanta looked like South Africa. I've been to South Africa. I've been to Johannesburg. I mean, and you're going to tell me, oh, it's 25%. So psychologically, the slavery that's in our minds, this man being in the Republic of New Africa, which is their biggest fear. I need to say this to you. When they resisted Sherman's Standing Field Order 15 that gave blacks 30 acres and a mule, one of the main reasons they didn't want blacks to have farmland, I remember the quote that I saw. They said, if we give those Negroes 30 acres and a mule, we will have created a Negro Republic within the United States. Now imagine a man, mayor of a city, 200,000 people, that he was going to fix up. And he believes in New Africa, in America. That's their worst nightmare. He's in his 60s still talking like he's a teenager collecting money for SNCC. I'm going to tell y'all something. People need to understand, when you get to Brother Lamar Brown's age and you're still crazy, they really hate you. They figure it's time for you to mellow out and just accept things. If you look at the iconography of this country, white folks always love the old grandmother and the old uncle because they're not a threat anymore. That's going all the way back to slavery times.
That's right.
When you're older and you don't give a damn anymore, where did Du Bois die? He didn't die in Harlem. He had to go to Ghana. They're going to kill him. Oh, you're supposed to have gotten over white supremacy. He had to leave. I mean, there's no place for him. Get going, black man. We don't care if you're old. You're supposed to have accepted our domination at this point. Do you follow what I'm saying? So
he was unwilling.
What happens with Chokwe and what happens with this assassination that people need to remember is that, and I'm calling it an assassination because it's too quiet. If he's in the hospital all those days and all that time, they don't know what it is. What do you mean they don't know? Or if the family wants it private, and remember something, sometimes your family is full of Toms and you're not. Sometimes it's just one or two that's militant and the rest of them are slaves. Sometimes people want it quiet because they don't want to upset people. There's this new trend all over the country where you throw a few $1 million at people and all of a sudden nobody will talk about what happens because they're doing okay because our people have been trained to run after paper instead of running to get the chains off of our ankles and our wrists. So there's more to this. People need to understand that the Republic of New Africa was targeted under COINTELPRO just like the Panthers and every other group. People need to understand that they had a place called Soul City that had an infiltrator at the top of it named Floyd McKissick, who was on the government payroll? Sure he was. Yes, I said it. They even had the president of Shaw University, a man by the name of James E. Cheek, a closet homosexual who used to beat the hell out of his wife when he was president of Howard University. I said that too. He was spying on Chokwe and the others. I mean, we had some black necks in on this. And notice how all the black folks are making the transition and nobody's asking questions. It reminds me of when they took down Harold Washington. Harold Washington did some things that weren't that cool. He locked up all the young folks and people who fought for him. And then when they took him out, there was nobody to fight for him. And there was a quiet transition. They got a passive Negro named Sawyer, who was a sellout, whose family got some money, I bet. And then there's never been any black power really reflected in Chicago since Harold Washington was given the formaldehyde that killed him.
That's right.
And so we need to, this is an assassination. This is a situation where everybody knows. And let's deal with this. When you get to this man's 67th birthday, in case we've forgotten, June, July this year, marks the 50th anniversary of the Watts riots, and all the riots have swept the country in Harlem and Philly and Camden and Trenton, all over the country, and Rochester and Cleveland. All these things began to happen. We had 400 major civil disturbances between 1964 and 1971. 189 within an hour of Martin Luther King's death on April 4th, 1968. Thousands, tens of thousands of blacks were arrested. Thousands of people were injured. The lowball number is 90 people were killed. I think it's far more people were killed. Our cities were militarized for the first time, where the United States called out its armies on black people. Over 25,000 or more troops were put in the streets. Actually, it's higher than that. Maybe 50,000 men were deployed to kill blacks in this country. So, and now you have Jackson, Mississippi, the epicenter, Freedom Summer, where the rage was let loose, and you have a black mayor there on the 50th anniversary. That's too much, too black, too strong, too soon. 50 years is too soon. And now he's gone. And I need to say something to you. You need to remember he changed his name to Lumumba, the most feared black revolutionary on the continent of Africa, the one they had to kill even before he got his position as power. Dwight D. Eisenhower demanded that Lumumba be murdered in 1959.
That's right.
Before he even was president of the country. Before he became president of the country, he told my dear friend, Dr. Yvonne Sion, mother of Dave Chappelle, the comedian, he told her in 1959 he would be murdered before she could take her job working for him. He told her this in 1959. When you put Lumumba on your name, you've made a declaration of war on all the forces that have oppressed our people. So you have this name, Chokwe Lumumba, and if you look at the slave name, Taliaferro, people forget his name is Booker Taliaferro Washington. Taliaferros. Booker T, perhaps one of the more conservative ones, but people forget Mary Church Terrell comes out of the Taliaferro family. And in fact, the Taliaferros are my relatives on my mother's side. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Taliaferros were the richest black family in the country 140 years ago. So he comes from just an extended family of resistance. Trust me, when they go after people, they're not just looking at you. They're looking at your ancestors. Oh, this nigga's crazy. His grandmother's crazy. His uncles are crazy. They understood that this man, who would go and be first in his class at Wayne State University and go to law school and go and serve people instead of making big bucks coming out of Detroit, staying in Detroit when a lot of people left, that this man had his mind made up to serve. They're terrified of single-mindedness, and men or women. That's why they have all this junk music. And that's why they're pushing all these agendas. Same-sex marriage, marijuana legalization. They're doing anything to confuse and muddy the issues. And this man came through all of this, and the issues were always the same. Freedom, human rights, self-determination, land, and absolute sovereignty of our people where they don't rule us anymore. This is something that they feared. And if you look at the newspaper, the way that they were representing Lumumba before the election, you would have thought that he had been burning white baby orphanage all over the country the way that they represented him. They incited the kind of paranoia and fear that results in these kind of clandestine murders. Somebody murdered the Anglican or the Episcopalian bishop here in Washington, D.C. was murdered. Same way, go in the hospital, dies. This happens all over the country. All over the country, young black men go in for a minor thing and they die because people want their organs. He went to the hospital and he's dead. The guy said he had a cold. If you read it, how do you go from a cold to a heart attack? Which was it? And if you ever met Chokwe Lumumba, it's a very good-looking, well-kept man. He wasn't fat. He ate right. You could look at him and tell he's a decent living person. You know, when you keep your health up, I'm amazed at when they say heart attack, there are substances, there are things that they can give people to cause them to have heart attacks. And it's not perceptible to your average doctor and your average coroner who's on the payroll. A lot of these coroners aren't even who they say they are. But if they're willing to lie as expert witnesses in court to put our people under the jail, then they're allowed to stay there for forever. Like the little Indian woman who had the stigmatism where one eye was looking north and the other eye was looking south, and she framed thousands of people, and they finally checked. So we need to be very clear. This was a real revolutionary. When you want to see these people get scared, it's when a person has this revolutionary ideology and they're able to mainstream it. This is why they shot Dr. King. Dr. King wasn't talking about a violent revolution, but the fear. If you ever look at the studies that they did, the Kerner Commission study and the other riot studies, they found that the black people who did most of the rioting actually were followers of Dr. King. They liked Malcolm but King. When Lumumba becomes mayor and he holds a position that people can't deny, he's even more powerful than when he was a young radical because they know he still has those ideas, but he's changed his methods. That's going to embolden young people to say, you know what, if we need to occupy or sit in, the mayor's not going to come down on us because he agrees. Or to quote Martin Luther King, and where do we go from here, chaos or community, I'm nonviolent, but my people are violent. We can take some calls.
We have a call. Yes, perfect. Caller from 718. Your mic is open. Brother Canty.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry.
Hey.
How is
Welcome
everyone
in.
doing? Thank you. I am Dr. Short. You're like a Stanley Hammer, hitting the nail on the head all the time, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Just
thank you.
Understand that this dear brother, Lumumba, Chokwe Lumumba, Lord, I can't even fathom the idea that he is no longer with us, but we are under the illusion, for some of us, that the enemy will go away and leave progressive leaders alone. It goes all the way back to the days of Marcus Messiah Garvey. They couldn't assassinate him, so they assassinated his character and had him deported. We have to understand that the black church has never really been a major threat to the system because most of our black pastors were long ago accommodationists. And they have never checked, and Dr. King broke away from the National Baptists and founded the Progressive Baptists. The system was very uptight about the very possibility that there was such a bold gathering.
Do you have your phone on speaker? Forgive me, but we hear somebody doing Roman Catholic Gregorian chant. Can you take your phone off speaker?
I'll take it off. Yeah. Our people have not studied history to understand that we're living in a system that will never, ever, as Chris Rock said, forever, ever, allow a strong black leadership. What pastor do you know right now is labeled a militant? I know where I'm at. There's none. The last one that was labeled a militant was Reverend Dr. Milton A. Galamison. And his brother was so forceful that even Malcolm had him be his warm-up man before he would speak at the Audubon. Chokwe, Lumumba, the idea that the family members, so far, does anyone know if they're going to let him be buried without independent autopsy, or they're not even mentioning so far an independent autopsy?
I haven't heard anything about an independent autopsy. I did hear his children speak of they were trusting in God or something to that effect.
That means you're not going to do anything. That's right.
I wasn't going to say anything.
God, it means they're not going to
I
get
wasn't going to say anything.
No,
yeah,
I said it. Trust me. I'm a Christian. I love Jesus, and I don't trust. Well, the Bible tells us to put our faith in God, not in crooked cracker cops, not in dirty laboratories, not in white supremacists. It says, let God be true and every man a liar, which means everybody lied as far as I'm concerned until I hear from God to tell them the truth.
You see,
I'm tired of this weak, punk, slave, nigger Christianity that says that God's job is to help white people steal everything from black people, and when we go to heaven, there'll be a segregated place where we can watch again them have all the good stuff, and we can provide the music. I mean, I'm not here to be a tragic chorus for white supremacy.
Listen, we go. That was young, going to the church to hear the old sisters testified. They say, when I get to heaven, I'm going to tell them how they treated me down here. Now, as far as the second independent autopsy, it is clear if the family members let that body be buried, it will only certify that you could do anything to a strong black leader, and our people will not rebel. You see, we are religious, but we're not ethical. That's black people's problem. We're not ethical. We don't study philosophy. We don't study history. We don't have logic. So Attorney Maddox, he calls it help, the four-letter word help. And I was trying to reach him to get him trying to be on the air tonight also. And unfortunately, I couldn't reach him before you guys were on the air. So it's just, has anyone heard anything about the funeral arrangements yet?
No. No.
One
of the city councilmen was sworn in last night, so I guess today they were probably making the funeral arrangements. Yeah.
For his children to say they're going to trust in God, when his father went in the hospital for a cold, like you said, Brother Dr. Short.
Well, look, let me say this because I read different reports. Okay, so apparently he's supposed to have had some kind of cancer. Then it was cardiac arrest. But he was known to always state that there's nothing wrong with him. His health is fine. So he refuted any claims to any kind of illnesses or heart problems or anything like that. And so when people start coming out with various versions of stories, in particular as to why you're sick, then it's like they're setting everything up for when the death happens, when the kill happens, it's like, oh, well, yeah, well, we did hear that he was kind of sick. You know, we believe any and everything. And we have to stop being so stupid and silly.
We need to, it's not just stupidity, it's cowardice. There's the old Mental State Hospital in Mississippi. Within the last 2 weeks, they found hundreds of bodies buried under the buildings. Now, you know what kind of people they were, the state asylum. I won't even go any further. Now, that news just came out, which means for decades they probably abused and killed. And, you know, if you kill a black person for walking down the road in Mississippi, what would you do to a mental patient? What would you do to someone in your care? Like down in Florida where they had the school where they were raping and killing the black boys. And, yes, black men, we need to stop being cowards to the truth. When black males are institutionalized, they're raped by white women and men all over the country. This has been coming on and going on since we first were brought here. And so God have mercy what they did in Mississippi, what they did to people at Parchment Farm, what they've done in the jails. The state is known for its brutality against black people. Its hospitals are known. Fannie Lou Hamer was sterilized. They've always done what they felt like doing. That's why they called it a Mississippi appendectomy, where they would sterilize thousands of women and tie their tubes and do all kinds of things. This is old. The Pelegua experiment in the 1920s allowed thousands of Mississippi black women to die. This ain't new that they're killing us. When are we going, if we're truly people of God and faith, then we don't have fear of people who happen to have lighter skin or more money, or for that matter, black necks that are middle class or Greek letter or Mason. If it's about for God you live and for God you die, then why so much fear, or why is there such a need to belong to entities, forces, and classes of people that hate your guts?
That's right. Has anyone made contact with Sister Utrice Lee?
No, but I actually I left her a message yesterday.
Okay, I'll call her when I got the air. I'll call her when I got the air to have her make sure she have a collaboration with you, Dr. Short, because it is clear that with Obama in the White House, God knows what won't happen to us. He's got Sharpton has his ear. Sharpton is a very sick man, and he will take down anyone that he feels is a threat to his domain. Sharpton wants to control from New York to California. Once he conquers Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, he's home free to go all the way out west. And he alone knew that Mayor Lumumba was not for sale, and would never have. And we
need to say why, because I heard from other people. It was in a story. I forget whether it's The Root or I forget one of the e-zines that said that people had linked Sharpton to Assata Shakur being set up. I actually heard Assata Shakur say that people had informed her that Al Sharpton was the person that snitched on them when they were on the New Jersey Turnpike. So Al Sharpton, you're not going. I heard that from Assata Shakur in May of 2001 in Havana, Cuba. Okay, that's not what I think. It's not what I read. It was what I even asked her to repeat that, so I'm not crazy. Assata Shakur told me, looking me in my face, that Al Sharpton had something to do, from what she understood, with her being set up where she was subsequently shot and framed for a murder that she did not commit.
Mm-hmm.
Assata Shakur said that. I wonder, she's the most wanted black female criminal, alleged criminal, but she's not on the face of the earth. I'm wondering why she chose to tell me and other Howard University students this. Another person whose name I remember is Attorney Opio Ciccone, president of Jacksonville chapter, SCLC, in Florida, was there when she said this. We all gasped. Now, so I can only say to you people, I didn't say Al Sharpton did it. I'm not accusing him. I'm telling you what Assata Shakur told us. And one other person that was witness was attorney Sophia Elijah, who I think you know, Brother Canty. That's what she said to about 20 of us. Now, I'm not saying that it's true, but I am saying to you, this is what this woman, after being in hiding for decades, told a group of African-American students, myself included.
You see, I'm only sorry that noted attorney who's now asleep with the ancestors, Clayton Jones, when he heard that Sharpton was about to be bumped off within 24 hours because we were certified, he was wired for 8 years to entrap freedom fighters for the FBI. He was running for his life. Clayton Jones went before the revolutionaries, sanitized his name, and got them to leave him alone. When Clayton Jones died in Atlanta, Sharpton was in Atlanta at the same time. He didn't make the funeral, neither did he send a telegram. We're talking about a man that has no conscience, who long ago was supposed to be given a mercy, shall we say, farewell. Because as long as he is still able to do his mess, and no one knows just what he won't do. But anytime you don't care about your wife being under false arrest and wouldn't send an attorney so that she could sue the city of New York for false arrest, she took a cup of plea and to get out of the clutches of New York City when the police knew who her husband was. Now, we're dealing with a man that Attorney Automatics took his case when no other attorney would take his case, when he was facing at least 100 years in jail for violation of the RICO Act. Attorney Clayton Jones said Sharpton was guilty in sin, but he only knew of one attorney that had the skills to get him off, and that was Attorney Automatics. He took the case pro bono, didn't even ask for a retainer fee. Even Johnny Cochran would not have done that. And he was doing so well, the judge presiding over the case, who's now the Queens District Attorney, Richard Brown, he took Maddox in the back room in the middle of the trial, mind you, and told him to hand over Sharpton. And Maddox was supposed to become Sharpton's deputy prosecutor. But he chose the high road and defied the judge. The judge told Maddox if he defied him, he would see that Maddox would never get back into the courtroom. He didn't say we will see. He said he would see. Now, you've got this man, Sharpton, who's a multimillionaire, who's, most people don't realize that Natural Action could not afford to pay for this man's high-profile living. He's paid by the Wall Street Initiative and Madison Avenue. He lives on the Upper East Side in the same neighborhood that Bloomberg lives. Michael Bloomberg lives, the former mayor of New York City. He has utter contempt for black people. Now, he has the ear of the president. So they sit in a caucus with, I'm sure, Eric Holder, and they decide who's got to go. Who would be a threat to Obama? And I'm sure Brother Lumumba had no intention of making peace with a traitor like Sharpton, who recognized that, who had full knowledge that Obama is one of the worst bewilderers of black people. Black people don't want to say anything or do anything against Obama because they consider it to be sacrilegious to confront this man. And we don't want to believe that we've been betrayed by a black man who's only in skin color, but his mind was anything but black. He was anything but black. Who has no, listen, anytime he wouldn't even pardon Jack Johnson and Marcus Garvey, who's been dead for a long time, saying it would be a waste of time. Anytime he wouldn't pardon those two brothers, you know this man here is I call Obama, President Obama, I call him a modern day, let's call it this Manchurian candidate. That's all he is. And you got See, we don't know who is going to be next, but as long as the family, as long as the Lumumba's family do not want to demand independent second autopsy, it's all over, folks. It's all over. They're going to go through the ritual. They're going to sing those sad songs at the funeral. They're going to have some. I know Dr. Short won't be asked to have a few words. It's already prearranged how this is going to be. Listen, if they didn't make any expose on the assassination of Malcolm X's grandson, it's as if it never happened. And but Dr. Short and Sister Rosalind, Sister Roz, they were out there letting the world know who they thought was behind young brother Malcolm's assassination. But you didn't hear nothing from the so-called leadership, the concern about who killed brother Malcolm. When the black Mexicans came out and protested what happened to young Malcolm, they were beaten severely, including a 3-year-old child, beaten severely by the police.
Yeah, I remember when I got the call about Brother Malcolm Shabazz. I knew then that he had been killed. So, thank you so much, Brother Canty, for calling in.
My pleasure.
And we love you. You feeling better?
Love you too. Yeah, and Dr. Short there.
Yes,
there?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Stay
strong, brother. Stay strong.
Yes, thank you. Sister, I think it makes sense to come back to Brother Brown to just get his thoughts on
Brother Brown had to step away. He had to step away. He's not with us. He had to step away. He is not with us at the time.
Okay. Well, I've more or less summarized what it is that I needed to say on this.
Okay. We do have a few callers. Would you like to just take a few callers right quick?
Yes,
quickly?
as long as we are completed by the half hour, because I'm literally here. I've got to put together a document for the sister that got attacked. I need to remind everyone to keep their ears open, and I'm going to send things out for Miss Delima Palmer, the Sierra Leonean American woman who was attacked by police when she was 8 months pregnant and nearly killed by them. I mean, they tackle dived on her and tried to crush her baby. And we have to get her appeal in, and we must get that done, or else she has to go to jail for a month this Friday. So we have 2 days. I can't do this very long. I've got to put out a letter. And I want to put one other thing out here while we're on it. I want everybody to be aware that there is a book out written by a man by the name of Pennell Joseph. He's a very, very opportunistic and ambitious historian who's writing a book to denigrate Stokely Carmichael, also known as Kwame Ture.
Oh, boy.
And I'm depressed, y'all, because I love Kwame, and I really was so happy to meet Brother Chokwe, and for Chokwe to be killed one day, and they launch a book days later to destroy Kwame Ture, it makes you really angry, and so I'm really mad. So I don't want to stay on here because I may go off, and these people matter to us. You know, when you love your people, and you see someone like Chokwe, you get to meet them even one time and touch them, it means so much. I had a chance. Daisy Bates, who held the Little Rock Nine, I met her the same day that I met Rosa Parks and Betty Shabazz. I met them all on the same day. Betty Shabazz was dead within a year. Daisy Bates died shortly thereafter, but Daisy Bates was in a wheelchair at the Grand Hyatt. And it's a true story. I asked the lady, I says, this woman looks important. Who is she? And the lady told me, oh, this is Daisy Bates. And before she could tell me, oh, do you know who she is, I screamed, my God, Daisy Bates from Gadsden, Arkansas. And she, mind you, she couldn't walk. Do you know she almost jumped out of her wheelchair because she, you know, you're not used to meeting younger black people who know anything about them because, you know, her time's 40, 50 years ago. And I began to tell her how much I looked up to her, how I used to see her pictures. And literally, it's a true story, she grabbed my arm with a steel grip and told the lady who was pushing her wheelchair to get off her chair. She wanted me to push her around. And for an hour, just clung to my forearm. And the lady said, she likes you. She likes you. And I said, I had to go up to see Rosa Parks, and she almost cried. But, you know, to imagine that, I never saw her again. That's the one time. I always wanted to meet her. And it was there. And when you have an elder cling on you, to touch you, to say, I like you, it's like she wanted to give me something to give to somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to Rosa Parks, you know, they wanted to give. Our ancestors, our elders, want to pour something into us, and that's why they kill people. So they can't share. They can't share in the physical. They can do it spiritually, but physically impart something to you. I can recall being hugged by Kwame Ture at Howard. As like some of that jumped on me what he had. I'll never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about this was 19. This was 20 years ago. I remember meeting him, and he's just a good man. You could feel his fire, and they keep Mumia and the Move 9 and all these people locked up for decades to deprive us of a metaphysical power of transformation and freedom that's inside of us, but a lot of us haven't unleashed. We haven't been taught. We have these nigger preachers who are worried about their 10%. You need to give them 10% of the sandwich after you digest it. I repeat, the next time I digest a sandwich, they can have a tithe of that. When I think about how our people are suffering and how these 501c3 slave dealers don't do a damn thing for us. So, let's open up the lines. I'm getting mad. I'm thinking about blackness and all of a sudden the cussing demon comes. And I love Jesus. You know I love Jesus. But blacknecks make me feel like I'm an atheist. I don't know. I can't be a good Christian when I'm dealing with blacknecks. It just, I don't know what I am. I know I'm going to be free. If I have to knock that nigga upside the head, I'm non-violent except for with blacknecks. So, if blackneck callers, don't call me. Don't call me if you're blackneck. Just hang on up. Go and stimulate. Go and chase yourself a blonde. Get yourself a fat white girl. Move out the suburbs. Don't call me.
Ooh, okay. Well, let's see. I'm trying to open up this line for 610. Let's see if we can get your mic open. You know, when you start talking about certain people and saying certain things. Okay, there we are. 610, did you have a question or a comment? Do you have a question or a comment?
I have a comment. Yes, I have a comment. Greetings, everyone. I had the opportunity of being on a conference call with Mayor Lumumba last year. You could feel his energy. You could feel his sincerity. And we were looking forward to being in Jackson, Mississippi, because we knew he understood our plight. I'm also a targeted individual. And they continue, the list grows, and if when you take notice, it's more and more African women that they're trying to take down. And it's not going to happen. That's why we're getting stronger and stronger, and we're growing. And we have a group called APAC. That's African People Against Covert Technologies. And we're under the umbrella of the Million Woman Movement by Empress Chi. And she did that 16 years ago in Philadelphia. And I can remember attending and how awesome. You looked around, you were listening to the speeches, you were pulled into that, but then for a minute or so you look around and you look at all of the women and the hair, the colors, everything about them, but they were all there for a reason, and we have to reenact that again and again and again all over this country, because it is a serious problem going on. And it didn't just start last week or when Obama came into office, or it's been going on. This has been a project. If you go to stopthecrime.net, you can find a document, and it's called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. So right now we're in a quiet war. And we're not even aware of it because they are manipulating us the way they want to. They feel. Some of us, they can. A lot of us, no. I'm not going there. And if people would just please listen to what the targeted individual has to say, we can put a stop to this. But we have to come collectively. And everyone has to stand up. Whether you're feeling the torture or not, everyone is targeted. And it's going to come to your community, to your front door, soon or late. So I say let's stop it now. And if people would take the time to understand, or if they will want a conference, we can come where you are and give you the information. This technology is wicked. It is wicked. And they're going as far as taking babies and, your baby's going to have to stay a day later than you. And I understand they're putting microchips in their brains. They're going to control you. That's how they feel. They call it transhumanism. Robots.
Well, they've written about it for years, saying that this was the plan. So people shouldn't be surprised.
No, they shouldn't, but we should be aware.
Yeah, we should be aware, and we should definitely fight against it.
Because the things they have in store for our children, there's a woman from Mississippi, 2 of her grandchildren are living in Minnesota with a white family. And she can't get her grandchildren back. Why can't she have her grandbabies?
Right, because
they have other plans.
The system makes laws. Yes. The system makes laws.
Yeah, it's not about law. It's not about law anymore. We're in lawless America. And all of our laws, someone had mentioned it to me, that the Pope can change laws here in the United States. Well, in this corporation he can. And I'm like, can the Pope do that? Well, I get the LCC code book, commercial code, and lo and behold, I just flip through it, and what's the first thing you see? The Vatican owns the United States. The Pope can change the law whenever he wants. Well, what the heck do we have going on? And don't cry about the schools. Take your children out. Have community schools.
At our own schools. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can find somebody to do a home school
for an oppressor to teach your children anyway. I don't get that. People always. I am 42, and people have always asked me, which I didn't even think about having children anyway until my 30s. But people would always ask me, why don't you have children? And I would tell them I'm not having children until I can afford to homeschool them. until I have a situation where I can homeschool them, I would never, ever subject my children to public school. Never. Never, ever.
Amen.
So, thank you. Can I call you back at this number? We'd like to have you back on again, sister.
Oh, most certainly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for calling because we're getting ready to conclude, but we appreciate you calling in and sharing the information, okay?
Thank you for listening. Peace.
Okay. Have a wonderful night. Peace. Dr. Short?
Yes.
I know that you have to leave. Would you like to take one more call before we conclude for the night?
Yes.
Okay. We actually have a 202 area code. Let's try this 202. 202-907. Do you have a question or a comment tonight, Chokwe Lumumba? Okay, you got to be ready when you come to the Lowe's place. Area code 219-949. Do you have a question or a comment? 219. Okay. So, Dr. Short, I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you have work to do, and we really appreciate you being a person for the people out here doing the work that you do. You do so much, too. So thank you, and please keep us updated. And we need to schedule a show about that sister as well. We need to get that scheduled to talk about and highlight her story. So I would like to do that.
Good. That's good, and there's much to discuss. I actually want in the future. I'm going to connect you. We're going to do a discussion on the Gullah Geechee story. It's one of the. It's a very important part of our history, and I'm going to ask Dr. Dorothy Hubler to be a guest. I'll do the introduction. A phenomenal woman who also survived being beaten almost to death by the Ku Klux Klan. We're talking about a woman that used to be a model for Pierre Cardin and Chanel, being attacked by a group of white people and beaten to the point of death, not far from Washington, D.C., because she was trying to help people. Of course, she was on the western side of Eastern Shore. Oh, yes, Mississippi is everywhere. Brother Lamar Brown will tell you, Eastern Shore, Maryland, and even Southern Maryland is the Mississippi of the East Coast. Many people are not aware of it.
Wow. Yeah, I know it was a different mentality when I was in Delaware and Philadelphia for a while. When I would travel over to Maryland, I would hear that about certain parts of Maryland and parts of Delaware as well. So.
Well, they call that Delaware.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. So we'll go ahead on and conclude for tonight, and hopefully we'll hear some more news. I'll definitely keep my ears to the ground on this story with Brother Chokwe Lumumba. So I wish that, I meant to ask you, could you play Miriam Makeba's song, Lumumba? But maybe we'll do that another time.
Yeah, I've got a document. I'm literally multitasking, but we can revisit him because I think that we need to have Pam Africa on and to do something on political prisoners as well. Just do the whole thing. So that's something that we need to. We're doing a housekeeping on the phone. That's probably going to piss off the listeners. So that's something that we can discuss soon off the phone. But I want to thank everyone for listening. And I want to ask everybody to tweet this show and this program. There's going to be more stuff, more things happening. I'm going to probably have Brother Bob Brown from the Black Panthers and from SNCC and from the All African People's Revolutionary Party come in and talk even for a few minutes. And you'll hear from me about this attack on Brother Kwame Ture. For old school people, our brother Stokely, one of the apostles, one of the prophets of Black power, Pan-Africanism, African socialism, liberation, and all the good things that this man did. And we're not going to let a bunch of people from Harvard come in, especially, what's his name, Skip Gates. Not only is one leg shorter than the other, but I think he's missing the chromosome and the lobe in his head to think that we're going to let him drag our brother through the mud like this. Oh, hell to the no, to the 10th power. I say hell to the no with me. Hell to the no, Skip Gates. And we're going to start calling him Chris Gates. His consciousness is crippled. His morality is crippled. His blackness cripples his soul. But he thinks that we're for sale, or that we're going to let them fagotize Brother Kwame because he's going to make some money. I'm so sick of blackness. Let me stop. I'm going to go over my time. Oh, I got 4 minutes. I can hang up, play some music. I'm already angry again. Let me let you go.
Okay. Well, don't get angry. So go ahead on and finish that document, and we will close out. Thank you, Dr. Short. Speak with you soon, okay?
Sure. Love you.
Oh, love you. Brother
Bye-bye.
Chokwe Lumumba was a forward-thinking visionary, lawyer, attorney, organizer, black nationalist, black activist, advocate of participating democracy, advocate of worker-run cooperatives. This participating democracy concept, this was all about people becoming informed and aware of the political process, being involved in political organizing and community organizing. So essentially, Lumumba received his instructions in terms of how to vote on city council issues from the people. So a People's Alliance was established, and they would talk to Chokwe Lumumba about what the concerns of the people were, what the people were concerned about, how they wanted him to vote on certain issues. So the people developed his platform. So he didn't just come out here and just say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, this is how it needs to be done. No, he was truly a man of the people. He was an attorney of the people. He was an attorney for Alton Maddox. He was an attorney for Tupac Shakur, Assata Shakur. I believe the brother's name was Harry Brown. He was an activist. So this brother has always been in the movement. Being a fighter for reparations, as I mentioned, it's so hard to find black people that are supportive of reparations because they have so many different reasons. But I do feel that we deserve reparations, and so when I find someone that is in agreement with me on that, I'm definitely surprised and also pleased with that. The Jackson Kush plan, I do hope that the brothers and sisters continue with their plan and those initiatives that were developed, because there is a team, I'm told, that is working on that, so that actually was working with Lumumba on that, so there's no reason to stop. We know that people can kill the revolutionary, but they can't kill they can kill the person, but they can't kill the movement. They can kill the revolutionary, but they can't kill the movement. So we must keep that going. We must keep his dreams and initiatives going, the plans that the people had, not just his, but the plans that the people had for economic development. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Lotus Place, and we will pick this story back up. We will keep people informed on what we find out about this forward-thinking visionary brother known as the most revolutionary mayor in the nation, Brother Chokwe Lumumba. We love you. Peace and blessings. Peace be upon you. I call him the revolutionary man with the plan. And Chokwe Lumumba means gifted hunter. Lumumba, he gets that name from adopted that name from Patrice Lumumba. So thank you so much, brother. We thank you for your service, and we thank you for your time. We give you honor and praise, and we know that you are still here with us, and your spirit is here, And we just thank you so much for the blueprint that you have laid out for us, Chokwe Lumumba. And we will honor you with the Harriet Tubmans, the Malcolms, the Kings, the Martin Delaney's, the David Walkers. We will continue to honor you forever and always. And we will close out tonight. Let me play a song by the Lonnie Singers of West Papua. As you know, we are also involved in the human rights campaign with the West Papuans, the Free West Papua. The people of West Papua are under Indonesian military attack. Genocide is occurring. Those people in West Papua they consider themselves as black Rastafarians. And the land that they have been living on for centuries is being attacked because of the gold there, because of the timber. So you have the Indonesian government in cahoots with other governments, and these people are being attacked viciously, murdered, killed, slaughtered in the street, babies, women, children. So bring national attention to this issue. We are trying to schedule Benny Wenda to come out to any church, organization, temple, mosque, your school. Please contact us at freewestpapua.2014texas@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram or Pinterest at The Lotus Place. Also on Facebook. So thanks again for listening in, and we will be back on the air for Friday, our Friday Freaky Leak show. But as I mentioned right now, we'll close out with the music from the Lonnie Singers. This is Benny Wenda and his family. You can also read about Benny Wenda's story at bennywenda.org. That's BENNYWENDA.org. So we'll play some music from Benny, and then for Kaylee, our musical genius for Kaylee. So you'll hear our music there. So thank you so much. Peace.
Papua elane narue o Papua elane narue o ya o wa ya o tono mini na ire nire o mere de kawaro narire o wa ya mere de kawaro narire o tono mini na ire nire mere de kawaro narire mere de kawaro narire mere de kawaro narire wa ya Minina ire nire o mere de kawaro narire mere de kawaro narire re de kawaro narire